So I am going through Magical Girls and Mecha guidebook of version 1.0 and updating it to 1.1 because in November, which is in a couple of days, the playtest for Magical Girls and Mecha starts. And so before the playtest starts, I wanted to give it a once over because I haven't actually looked at this book, at this guidebook, in its entirety, in a while. Let's just go with a while. I've glanced at bits and pieces of it. I obviously put in art, but I haven't looked at it really to read through the rules in it. So I'm reading through the rules, and I'm going to be marking with pen, my handy dandy pen, any changes that I want to make because I find it easier for me to do changes by pen than it is for me to do changes on the computer where I get distracted. Or unless I'm streaming. Unless I'm streaming, and then I will focus. But I have been wonky about game dev streams lately, so I figured I'd just do a whole video. And I was fancy smancy when I did it. So look at me. Anyway, so let's get into this, and I'm just going to talk you through what I'm doing with a voiceover over me working. And so I have my game dev notebook next to me in this, but oddly enough, I didn't end up needing my game dev notebook because I didn't take any notes. I didn't have any extended notes that I needed to take, so I put it off to the side, and it basically stayed off to the side for the entirety of this video. And then I'll zoom in. So the first note that I'm making is that I have it directly in front of me so I can see what I was notating. Is I want to enter the blank page. I just want because it should go cover and then blank page and then the art and then everything else. And so now I'm just going through the table of contents, looking at it, and I realized when I was going through the content that my first section is missing a bunch of stuff that I normally put in my games. And I think it's because when I wrote this game, I wrote this game before I changed the way I design games. And so, because of that, it was safety tools were just missing. And also, excuse my weird printer, my weird paper, because my printer was being weird, and it doesn't like printing on that spot. It's just that spot. No matter what I do, no matter what paper I use, it just does it. And so I'm just messing around with paper at this point, just trying to get myself settled and in a way, because I have the space that I'm working in. I actually have right to the left of me a copy of Media Chronicles, because I was going to do this Media Chronicles. In fact, that'll probably be my next video after this one for Games as Vlog. And so this is me making my first set of notes, and originally I was gonna be oh, add something here. Then I was let me think about that and put it somewhere else. And so you'll see me flip to the next page. I think it is. Come on, flip to the next page. I know you can do it. Oh well, okay. So I'm looking through seeing what. So basically, sorry. So the way this currently laid out, it goes preface, the game, and then a setting, but I've changed the setting since I wrote the setting. Not that the setting is different, it's just I rewrote the way the setting was informed the players. And so I have a section that's now setting and story, which I was missing from this. So this is me realizing that I was missing my section on tone, which is actually in the back of the book. I'm pointing back behind me it's behind me. No, I mean behind me. Back anyway. You get what I'm saying. And so it's missing the section on tone, it's missing the section on players, it's missing the section on story, which story goes with the setting. It's missing my safety toolkit bit that I have from Tina and Lauren. And then it's also missing a just general how does this system work, because this is a role-playing game. So role-playing games is really funny. Someone made a comment about how role-playing games are the only games where you explain to the player how the game works every time you do it. let me soothe my parched throat as I like make comparisons to Neo City Chronicles, a more modern, I guess is the best way to put it, game that I designed. Also, if you hear any weird sounds in the background of this video, either from my talking or from the video itself of me writing, it's because I live, like I say this in every stream, I say this in every video, and it happens. I live off a busy street. My windows are double pane, but sound still gets through. It is loud. I apologize. Okay, so I realized that theme was on page 21, and it should be here, so I make a note that theme should be moved to this section by tone, and it should go tone, then theme, and then players and stories and safety toolkit, safety tools, as I've adapted them, and then system structure is the new section. And also you'll note, and I haven't done it yet, and actually I realized I missed one. Every time I wrote Magical Girl in this book, I had and change it to say Keykeeper, because I wanted a gender neutral term to describe my magical people, but magical people wasn't the best way to describe it, and so I changed to Keykeeper. Sorry, I had like a brain fart just now. And that's my cat in the background. I don't know which one it is. And so I'm gonna do a voiceover, not a voiceover. Obviously, I'm like down here in the corner. Hi. And I'm just hanging out in the little corner of this video talking about what I'm doing as I'm doing it. I didn't want to talk my way through doing it because I wouldn't be able to focus as I was writing and explaining what I was doing as I was doing it. So I'm watching this back and then doing a voiceover. So this is the part where I was writing out the system structure and like how the system works. And I like make a mistake like right off the bat. Like I start writing where narrative trumps everything, but then I changed my mind because narrative doesn't trump everything in this game. Narrative trumps most things in this game. So in this game, in Girls in Mecha, it's a diceless game. Like I unintentionally, I didn't design it on purpose to be diceless, but it is diceless. But it's built primarily like old LiveJournal RP communities were built, and like other text-based communities, like I know Twitter. There's not what's the word? Surge. Text-based RP via Twitter that people do, but those are all diceless. But I consider those role-playing games. So it's built like that. It's built to be a role-playing game in the sense that you're role-playing. You're just acting out a thing. It's a lot of improv. It's a text-based improv game. And so I was trying to explain that in system structure, which I should make a note that it's diceless. I should like specify because Neo City Chronicles, as I've said multiple times on Twitter, but never in this video because I just have come up, is a series of games that I am working on in the same universe. And so Neo City Chronicles, the TTRPG, has dice. Magical Girls in Mecha does not. Magical Girls Deck Rising is the tactical turn-based RP role-playing game, war game that has, which in my ideal perfect universe will have minis. It's a deck builder. It's a whole thing. There's a cat. I'm trying to decide whether I'm going to edit that out or not. No, I'm going to leave it. So anyway, so this is me writing out the system structure, and basically all actions are told in first person between players and on the various channels and the character journals. So one of the things this game has is character journals, and that is the way the players not roleplay by themselves, but like introspective or choose to decide with other players. Because you don't necessarily, like, sometimes, you know, like, if you're playing a role-playing game, like, let's say D&D, back in a better reference, sometimes there'll be a scene, and the scene will be really, really good, but, like, you don't want to go on forever, so you, like, do it off camera, off screen, out of game. So player journals are for players to, character journals are for players to write about their characters off screen adventures and happenstance and doing, or interacting with other characters. It's like a place for them to recap scenes that other players can read because they weren't around. Basically, like, you can either read the scene or you can read the recap. You can make a choice. Okay, so now back to what I'm doing on screen. I just wrote down the system structure. I apologize for my crappy handwriting. I have crappy handwriting. I'm not one of those people with, like, beautiful, flowy, cursive handwriting. I have handwriting like a toddler. And actually, you know what I was looking for just now? I couldn't remember if I put administrator or GM who's running the game. I might change the term GM to facilitator. I don't know, because technically they are the game master. But it sounds weird, especially with moderators being the other half of the role in this game. Whereas the game master is in charge of the overarching story and everything that's going on. They are the be-all and end-all. They are the voice of God. Moderators are like, continuing my religious analogy, they are little angels that are doing God's work. I don't know why I made that analogy, but that's the analogy we're going to go with. And so in Magic Girls and Mecha, you don't need mods, but in my opinion, when I was designing this game, for every 5 players, there should be 1 mod. And so this is when I realized I ran out of space at the bottom, so I need to put the paper over and write on the other side. And I was like, oh wait, am I in French? Can you see what I'm writing? And then it doesn't matter because I have terrible, terrible handwriting. There's a lot of footnotes in this game too. I think I'm gonna keep them all, but there are a lot of them. And so the next page is about the Discord text. So really, it was weird. There's like maybe 10 pages of game that's technically missing that I should probably add in, which is what I realized while I was doing this. Which is why I was doing this. Because the playtest starts in like 2 days. Today's Friday. It starts on Sunday. I want to say something like that. That sounds right. November 1st, whatever November 1st is. That's when my playtest starts. It is the first round of playtesting. So I put out a call earlier this year, over the summer basically, and through the fall, for anyone who's interested in playtesting this game for 2 rounds of playtesting. So I'm going to do playtest now, and like do live updates of how it's going for the month of November. And I'm going to do playtest again. I'm going to make massive changes based on what the playtest tells me in all December. And then I'm going to do playtest again in January with those new changes implemented, hopefully with some of the same people so they can see what's changed and what's the same. Yeah, I have really bad handwriting. It's okay. At least I can read it. If you can read my handwriting, thank you. If you can't read my handwriting, I'm sorry. Together with keykeepers, mods, and GM determine the premise and background of... Actually, I can just read it from the paper in front of me. I don't need to read it from the screen. The premise and background of the story being told with the canon lore of the world. Because I have canon lore that exists within this world that I need to share with players. I should write more short that in this world because I have more lore. Once the story begins, the situation has been laid out, the keykeepers and the other characters determine the course of the story. That is literally how this game works. This game doesn't have, technically, doesn't have, what's the word? What is the word? Rounds, doesn't have sections, doesn't have, hold on a second, I know what this word is. I know where I wrote this word down at. I just reached off into the ether and then pulled something out of nowhere. I know. what page is this on? I'm looking at the copy of Neo City Chronicles. Because I know in Neo City Chronicles, on page 18, I wrote the word that I'm thinking about that I can't grasp right now. No, it says sections of play. Yeah. So Magical Girls and Mecha doesn't have sections of play. There is no pre-play downtime adventure. Like there's not like D&D. The game is happening when the game is happening, and it's not happening when it's not happening. And so I just made a note that it should say there are channels that these are the channels that players have access to, and then taken anything that's written in these channels is taken as in character and becomes canon. And then I made a note that if you delete something, like don't, but if you do, it's like it never happened. But please don't delete things. Like edit the text post. I don't know. I haven't figured out exactly how I want to do that bit. I'll figure that out. I will figure that out. But the important key bit is in my head, people won't delete things. Because if you delete things, it's like it never happened, and you can't undo things in the real world. But this is a game, not the real world, so maybe I will let you delete things. When I playtest it, we'll figure out how that works. And so I'm just reading through the bits that I wrote to make sure there's nothing weird, and what each Discord channel is for. And so this is the beginning of me crossing out Magical Girls every time I see it to replace it with Kiki bit. I will do this through the entire video a bunch of times. Like a lot. And I feel like as a writer I should find other ways to say what I'm saying. It doesn't involve me just writing Keykeepers a bunch of times. Like you'll notice in private rooms I already fixed it to say Keykeepers there, but I hadn't fixed it in the Magical Defense Agency or the Independent Cooperative of Magical People. Like I knew it was the Independent Cooperative of Magical People, but I didn't. No, whatever. It's gonna be Independent Cooperative of Magical People. I like the way that sounds. And this is me writing a note that I should put a line in that journal entries are for the player's reference. Or canon player are references for the players of what is canon. And then these are the out of game channels. There are a couple of them. There aren't that many character logs. It's just exactly what it sounds like. It's literally your character sheet. It's your character sheet. Community forum is feedback channel. Media City Chronicles is the local newspaper, which I realize while I'm doing this, doesn't actually belong in the out of game section. It actually belongs in the in-game section. The way you tell in Neo City Chronicles, not Neo City Chronicles, the way that you tell in Magical Girls and Mecha that time is when a new issue of the newspaper comes out. My recommended time frame is that for every week of real world time, it is 1 day. So there'll be 4 days of playtest, if that makes sense. Because there's in November. And I might combine character lists with character logs, but I'm not sure. I don't think they need to be separate channels. They need to be separate documents. I mean, housekeeping is housekeeping. It is also out of game things, but it's like out of game things. Like really out of game things. Like this is super real world, no meta. Out of. And then there's only 3 voice channels. So the thing about this thing is it doesn't require, I didn't want it to be voice heavy. I didn't want it to be like a talking, you're on chat type game. You can be on chat. Like, don't get me wrong. You can be in chat and talk about things. Like, I didn't want the game to be designed where you had to have a microphone and camera. I wanted it to be able, you could play it with literally just Discord text. Like, just Discord text. And this is again me crossing out Magic Girls and replacing it with Keykeepers. Every time I see it, I've replaced you with Keykeepers. Keykeepers have been passive, yeah. I don't know why I put that in first person. Or second person. Whatever, it's not right. It is not right. That is the important part. And then I just put a note to add art. I have a blank piece of paper, or blank section there that doesn't have anything on it. Let me flip I'm flipping through this document in front of me. I don't know what art I'm gonna add there, but I'm gonna add something. X. What's that? Let me. Literally every time I see magic, I cross it out. As I was doing it, I realized it was going to be annoying to like watch myself go back and do it every single time I did it. It's also going to be annoying every time I realize that I missed one because I missed one in journal. You think you catch them all, but you don't. And also, if you're reading this, it's like you can read the text on the page, and you're like, oh, this is grammatically incorrect. I am aware that there are things that are grammatically incorrect in this document. It has not been checked for spelling and grammar. That is the last thing that I do because I'm the worst person to do spelling and grammar. I want it to be in its final form before I have someone read it over for spelling and grammar errors. Like, I need the plot to make sense before I fix the English. I'm crossing this entire section out because I realized that this section is just a repeat of the newspaper section from earlier, and it made no point to have it there twice. Like, there's no reason for there to be a separate channel to post the docs for the newspaper when there's literally already a channel that does it. And then character creation, which I'm not sure if I like where I put character creation. I feel like character creation should go somewhere else, but it just feels like it fits there. When I reformat the document, like I physically reformat it like in InDesign, I might move it someplace else. But right now, that's where that is. It just is, because that's all you really need to know. And actually, it's really funny. I'm gonna move on from this section. I don't know why it's in. I got close. Maybe you can't see. Maybe I should make it closer. But I forget how clear my camera is sometimes, because that's really crisp. And so, it's really funny. So what's going to happen is I'm going to flip to the next page in this. Actually, yeah, I'm going to flip to the next page in this, and I'm going to come back to this because I don't realize that the thing that I thought of as like, ooh, brilliant idea, I had already previously thought of because I've never had an original idea in my entire life. Also, that is my sink running in the background because someone was at the sink. Don't worry about it.
Player's character choice.
I wrote a note to move playing your character somewhere else for the players. I'll move this for the players section. And I changed it to semi-open world to an open-ended world that is dependent on the GM. It was a weird sentence that I had written, like, oh, the GM isn't the be-all to end-all in this universe, when they are, in fact, the be-all to end-all in the universe. Except for when I write canon lore. Like, me writing canon lore is the equivalent of, like, Wizards of the Coast putting out a new platform. Like, you can choose to use it, or you can choose to ignore it, but there's certain things, like the fact that you're on Absalon? No, Absalon is Pathfinder, whatever. When Paizo puts out a new platform. I don't know what the heck the world in, the Forgotten Realms? Whatever, something like that. I forget what D&D's universe is called. And this is where I talk about what the players in the rulebook. This is where I talk about what the player's journal functions as. And is this where I realized that I didn't have the motivation section? And I was like, ooh, I should add a motivation section. So the thought that I had, or that I'm going to have soon. Come on, just work with me here. Okay, so no, I don't have the thought yet. This is a note saying that players should and can read each other's journals, but they can't act on things that they read in their journals because you need to. It's like reading a slap book. Like, you know, like we know certain things about the universe, but you as a character don't know. But you as a player knows because it's interesting storytelling. Like, it's like someone had a scene and you're physically not there with, so your character doesn't know what happened, but you, the player, knows what happened since you were watching the scene play out. So read each other's journals. Does that make sense? Of course that makes sense. Also, yes, I am aware that I write the letter F backwards. Please, no one comment. Leave me alone. So I need to figure out where I'm going to put that exactly. That's the bit where players should read each other's character journals. When do I have the thought about Hook? When do I have the thought about Hook? Is it now? I don't know why the pen just dropped, but and why I aggressively highlighted that, but I did. Don't ask. Don't know. Do I keep going before I have the thought about? Okay, so the absolute worst nightmare of things that could happen happened in which the script that I was recording that was doing the original voiceover for this, like, cracked out halfway through. So, after I did literally the whole thing, so this anyway. Let's pick up where I left off. So, where I left off was... Where is that? What page is that? Terms and what they mean. Ah, found it. Now I know where I am. Okay, cool, good, everything's fine. Okay, so, funny story, I literally did the voiceover for the entirety of this video, only to discover that my clip crapped out halfway through, so it's only like 30 minutes long, and it's like an hour-long video. So I'm back again doing a second take of this bit. So, if I'm a little weird, it's because I am trying to remember now, several hours later, what I was doing when I was editing this document. And so, so this is the part where I decided, where I took out the bit about fighting in the mech, because originally when I designed this game, you could fight in your mech. It was sort of like the way Lancer does it. But I decided that I'd rather have mecha companions than mecha suits. So I got rid of the line about mecha suits and piloting and cockpit and how they move and all that jazz. I also changed the bit about the ones from before. Really, it was a sentient race of androids coming in invade. That doesn't make them animals. Like, just because. And the art for them are super cute, and I'll throw it into the document. You won't see it in the video. Or maybe I'll put it up. No, I won't. I won't. I promise you the art is very good. So I am just going through, and now I'm back at the basic rules, which I feel like I should move someplace else in this document, but it is where it is right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it from bullet points to being numbered, because I don't feel like that encapsulates the importance of the rules. And so I think off camera, I realized that some of my pages were out of order, so I was like looking for the right pages. So I fiddled around with some papers for a bit. But no, seriously, I literally did this entire hour-long recording, or what I thought was an hour-long recording, voiceover for this video, only for me to get to like go to look at the file, and the file is only like 36 minutes. I'm just like, oh my god. First time doing this, not doing this, but doing this. And of course I have technical difficulties. Anyway, I'm gonna blame Streamlabs OBS because I'm using Streamlabs OBS, not regular OBS, and I really should just use regular OBS. This is my own doing. And And so this is me numbering them in the order in which I think is most important. And I'm like doing it super aggressive like, but it's not that aggressive. It's not that serious. And there are only 4 basic rules of the game. No god modding, be nice to everyone, don't metagame, and GMs need to be informed of everything that's happening in the game. That's basically the breakdown of the rules for this game. It's not complicated, it's not anything heavy. I might add more rules as the playtest for this game goes on, just because I might think of new things. Oh yeah, I should probably put a rule in the book for that. But because this is a text-based RP game, I can't think of that many rules that you need. There is a section in this about rules for fighting, and so what I'm changing here is I changed PvP to say player versus player and player versus environment. Because in Magic Girls and Mecha, there is no player versus player combat. Like, you can't fight your co-players. I said you can't do it. I'm just telling you right off the bat. It's only you versus the environment in your world that the GM builds. And so I'm changing some wording here, getting rid of some unnecessary commentary. I'm getting rid of like this entire section on the bottom about fighting in your mech suit and fighting outside of your mech suit, because I got rid of the ability to fight inside your mech suit. And so this is like not rule. It says rules for relationships with other interpersonal behaviors, but they're not rules. It's just the way I set up relationships in this game. And I'm gonna realize, I think. Let me see. Is this when it happens? Yes. So I had a thought, and I don't know if I said this in my original take of this, but I will play it again. I'm like trying to remember what I was doing. Because for me, it's been like 3 hours since I filmed this. Because technical difficulties. So I think this is where I had the thought about adding hooks. Basically, I had this thought that I should add relationship hooks into the character creation section. And I'll write it down, and this is me writing down hooks, relationship, blah, blah, blah. I forget exactly the words that I wrote down. Because it's unimportant, because I immediately cross it out. Because if you look above where I'm writing, where it says motivation, as I go to reread the motivation section, I already wrote exactly the same thing. I don't need to write this twice. I already had this thought a long time ago when I was writing this document originally. Duh. So I end up crossing it out. And then highlighting motivation so I don't have this thought again. This is me, yep. I've read the character section again. I went, oh, I already had this thought. It's right there. But I do make a note that if I want to add a way to have pre-existing relationships, because I'm not sure quite yet if I want to, but so in Mass, which I'm playing a lot of Mass right now, or I'm running a lot of Mass, one of the things that happens is when you're creating your character, you create people who have influence over you. And by default, all adults have influence over you, and then your teammates get influence over you depending on what playbook you choose. And so in Magic Girls and Mecha, I'm trying to decide, and I haven't decided yet, if I want to have a way to have pre-existing relationships, like pre-existing, this person is tied to this person via this relationship, and how I want to set that up. Like, I don't know if I want to set like a specific rule for that, or if I want to like free flow it and like just let players decide, oh yeah, this person's my best friend when they get to the relationship section. But yeah, I think when I do the playtest, that's definitely something that I'm gonna have to think about. Is like, when they create characters, do they want to create interconnected characters, or does everyone want to be solo, the solo hero that is then joining the team? Well, we'll see. And so, once I finish writing that note about relationships, I will go back to back to the section on relationships in the doc. And I will add a note that I should make the definitions for other types of relationships and switches, and family, because I realized that there were no. I could add another platonic relationship into this list that I had forgotten. So yeah, I added those in. And I might add a couple other ones in. I don't know, but it's again depending on how players of the playtest want to deal with relationships and interpersonal. Because like the entire game is about interpersonal relationships. Like it's technically a war game. It's a war game about interpersonal relationships and war game and interpersonal relationships. About both of them, basically. And then we get into the section about running the game, which I realized I didn't write the note now, but I wrote it like after I finished filming this. That running the game should be on its own page. Like there should be a page break happening here, that I just didn't account for, because this is like a new section, like super important bit. And also, yes, I am aware that I spelled NeoCities wrong 3 times in that paragraph. I will fix it in 2 seconds. There, that's me fixing it. I don't know. I feel like it was a autocorrect changes to NeoCity. I don't know, because it's right everywhere else except for in these 3 places in this one section. And so the way time works in this game is, it is determined by the newspaper, and a newspaper is published in a frequency that is determined by the players and GM in session 0. Basically, if you want every day in game to be one in real life day, you can do that. If you want to do it really, really fast and play like all the time, you can do that. Or you can play a really, really slow game where every in-game day is one in real life week. And so that's again established in the session 0 of the game when you're setting everything up. Like how often do you want to play? How fast do you want time to run? That sort of thing. And so then the next section is mission 0 and onboarding. And so it's like, it has a section, I have a whole section on establishing the world. And the very first thing I put in establishing the world is how fast does time move? And then it's like, how fast does time move? What are the house rules? What does it set? Does the setting actually matter in terms of time period? Like, it could be the past, it could be the present, it could be the future. Like, when is the set? I have it, like, I literally write 2000XX when I write any date in this game. Because time is nebulous and it's meaningless. And it could be an alternate reality. It's all that's something that I have not established in canon, but I might establish in canon later on. And this is just me fixing key keepers a bunch of times. Actually, oh, so I crossed the line. Are there other magical girls on the team on this trip? The answer is no. I realized the answer is no. There are other NPCs, but the magical key keepers that are in this game are the ones that the players are playing are the only ones that exist in this game. There are others in the universe, but it was convoluted, weird thing. And this is again me every time I come across another magical girls, I just replace it with keepers. That's like half the typos in this game is me fixing that. It's me literally writing that. And the worst part is I can't control F it and replace because then it's fuck off the name. So there's that. Let's see. Next page. I just made some word changes on this page, like just literally 2 changes of words. Because again, I switched this entire game to be gender neutral, or as gender neutral as I can make it, being that it is a magical girl genre game. I might have to think harder on that, and I might have to, I have someone do a pass on it, just to, like, double check that I created it as best as I could. But that's, like, for, like, February, right? After I do the first 2 playtests, or during the playtest, that'll be one of the things that happens. And so this page, this entire section, is really, really funny. And by funny, I mean I want you all to know the big 3. Hopefully this will be the last page. Anyway, so this is I've gone over this in real life. This is the first time you're hearing it in this video, but in real life I've done this like 3 times. Basically, I realized at this point that I wrote mission 0, mission 1, and mission Z, and it annoyed me that I had mixed letters with numbers. So I do this whole thing where I switch it from Z to Z to Zeta, or Zeta to Z to Zeta again. And I switched mission 1 to Alpha mission, or something like that. It's terrible, I don't like it, I'm gonna fix it, but it happens. It's just one of those, this is how my brain works type moments that you all get to see. So let me talk about other things instead of me talking about this weird thing. So in the design process for this game, when I was designing this game, it basically, part of the reason why I'm going through it again and like writing, going through it again and like doing this whole thing before the playtest is I basically wrote this from my brain onto paper and then didn't think about it ever again. Well, I didn't think about it ever again. I didn't, like I edited it to like rearrange things to make it flow better when I first went through it. Like since I wrote it, I have not done a major check of this document since then. Like I haven't done a major pass of it. This is the first major pass that I'm doing since I added the art. And when I added the art, that's when I like rearranged things so it fit better with the art. I have more art to add to this document. But I'll do that some other time. I'll probably do that. When I finish typing these notes up, I'll probably add the other art and attach it on itch.io, like November 1st. Like the patched version will be the same version of the playtest people are playing. And so, the playtest, one of the things I'm hoping to get out of it is, does this make sense to someone else? Because I made this game thinking about old LiveJournal forums and LiveJournal communities and LiveJournal RP communities, and I know they exist on Twitter. Like, I know role-playing, people still do, like, role-playing, they have the character accounts that they use role-play from. But that's microblogging, so this is, like, slightly bigger than that, but, like, it's more immediate, it's aim-based. Like, full aim chat rooms, like, I'm just dating myself is the important part. That's really what's happening. I'm dating myself and making myself sound super old. And okay, so what I'm doing on this is I'm basically moving I'm telling myself to move the theme bit to the front, and like the for everyone section is the stuff that's be in the front of the book. Yeah, that's what's happening here. And then I crossed out Magical World, but then I realized it's supposed to say Magical World, actually, because I'm referring to in that paragraph the Magical World genre, not Magical World in the game. It's really confusing. And so, from the playtest, I need to update the playtest survey, to be honest. I need to update the playtest survey, because I had better questions and better ways to format it. The playtest survey I designed directly after I made this last year. I can't believe I wrote this last year. And basically, I want to know, does this make sense? The November playtest is, does this make sense? Are there any bits of this game that are missing? Because I know it's a functioning game. Like, I know on paper it's a functioning game. I'm not sure if in practice it's a game that can be played. Because no one's played it. Or no one I know has told me that they played it. Like, people have bought it from me on itch. But no one has said, oh my god, I played this game with my friends, it was amazing. If they have, or if you have, please let me know, because I literally live for validation that people played my game and enjoyed my game. like, that's one of the things about being a designer and putting things out there is you don't know if people like it or not. Like, there's no, especially when you're like an indie little designer, like you can't, people don't leave unless they hate it. No one says anything, and I need to know if you like it or not. And hopefully I'll get that feedback when I do the playtest in November and January. But it is what it is for right now. So one of the things about this game is it is a time commitment. This is more of a time commitment, I feel, in a way, than a regular traditional TTRPG, because this is sort of like a work from home type versus going into the office type game. Because it's online, because it's text-based, there's basically an infinite amount of time that you can play, as opposed to when you're playing in person, sitting at a table or sitting online at a computer, like where you're like, I'm only playing for 3 hours on Wednesday. This is like you could do a quick post on like Monday at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, it doesn't really matter. There's a whole bit in like all the sections about time commitment, which I actually want to expand on. Just to talk more about time commitment and managing your time, and like, again, that's something I'll figure out when my players doing the playtest, like how they want to do it, or what they think I should do in that section. And so here, what's happening on camera, on screen, in the real world, is I had a thought here, and I forgot what that thought was, and I can't remember what it is now, and I couldn't remember what it was then. Basically, I just wrote myself a note, the question mark, saying, finish this sentence with something. And that first line of the time commitment section should actually be the first line of the moderator section, and the first line of the moderator section should be the first line of the time commitment section. Somehow they got swapped. Or maybe I thought them in that order, and then I just never moved the title, which happened. And so I'm really thinking of how to finish that sentence, and I my brain just cannot function to tell you how to finish that sentence. Let's see. Also, I changed every time I wrote job to role, because job, I didn't like the connotation behind the word job. I just thought it sounded serious, and this is a game. This is just again, aggressively writing 6 blank space, because there's not supposed to be a blank space there. There's supposed to be something there. I don't know what it is. If the section just, like, got insert new column, like, I don't know what happened there. It's just a minor graphical glitch. And then I'm just getting rid of some words that I don't think I need, which is a whole other thing. I need to actually go through this document and read all of the words and make all the words that are in this document are necessary for this document. For this guide book. Because sometimes I put words in for fluff, and it's just like, no, get rid of the fluff. This is an instruction manual. This is a serious rule book. Serious guide book. And so this is a section for the GM, which is probably the biggest section in the game, one of the bigger sections in this guide book. It's just how to run a mission, how to build the world, how to make NPCs, how to make once from before characters. That kind of stuff. This is take 4. I don't know what's wrong with OBS and why it's doing this, but it's doing this. Let this be the last thing. So if it cuts out again, I'm just, the ending of this just won't have me talking. But like I was saying, this is the GM section, and the GM section is one of the bigger parts of the book. It involves creating NPCs, creating the world, creating the ones from before. What else does it have in there? It has a bunch of stuff in there. I have to like go look now from my brain. I've done this so many times. But my OBS is basically, OBS wants me to do this till I get it perfect. And so the GM section has setting up time management, and then how to create and run missions, and then it's creating locations, creating context, basically world building 101. which obvious it should be obvious, but I put it in there in case it's not obvious because there's missing lore. Because unlike other games, I have not written out the lore for this game. Actually, you know what? And so I'm going to write out the lore for this game. I'm going to take some time in the future and write out more world building, more lore for the game. Just because I enjoy writing and I like this universe, which is why I wrote 3 games in this universe. So I might as well write like little tidbits here and there. I'll probably put them on my Patreon or on Coffee or something. I don't know. I'll put them somewhere where I can post blog posts. So support me on Patreon and Coffee. Hopefully, praying, baby Jesus, that I don't have to record this again. That this just works. This is the end of the end of the end of this thing. It is so close. Actually, you know what happened? I'm gonna stop talking here. I'm gonna stop talking here. I'm gonna say goodbye, and this is the end of this section. And because nothing interesting happened, I literally just messed around with the papers for a hot second, and then turn off the camera because this is literally the end. But yeah, if you like this video and the content that I make, please like and subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you can get notified when I post new videos. I apologize for posting new videos at like 3 in the morning, Pacific Standard Time. But yeah, I need like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at mcatterdev or Little Red Alchemist. I'm active on both accounts. And let me think. What else is there? Support me on Patreon and Coffee, where I post game dev stuff and behind the scenes things. I have a weekly newsletter, a semi-weekly newsletter called Notes from Around Here, that I post up on both of those places and then other places. And then also you can just get emailed the notes from around here and just sign up for my newsletter. I'll put the link in the description box below. What else is there? I don't think there's anything else. I think that's it. I think I'm done.